I am Nick Shell, a certified Enneagram coach. I'm going to share something that I have learned from this book that I love, that I recently bought and have read, The Honest Enneagram by Sarah Jane Case. You yourself, you can become like me in multiple ways. If that's what you're wanting to do with your life, you can click a link right there and you can buy this off of Amazon and become enlightened like I am. You can also become enlightened by simply taking your Enneagram test for free through Cloverleaf. There's a link right there. And if you really want to become enlightened and you really want to become like me, you could become certified for Enneagram as I am through Cloverleaf. There's a link right there. 4 of my viewers so far have done that. And thank you for that, by the way. So yes, becoming certified specifically for Enneagram has absolutely, positively changed my life. And I'm very passionate about that. Now, here's what I want to focus on this particular video. In case you didn't know this, I am absolutely, undeniably, and it took me quite a while to figure this out, I'm a very strange Enneagram. It is very hard to pinpoint. I am a counterphobic 6, wing 7, sexual subtype. What that means is I am someone who secretly is very anxious, worrying about what might go wrong. Anxiety is my fuel, and it has been my entire life. But as a counterphobic 6, I did not realize how fearful and afraid I was and am about everything, because I transmit this idea that I am in control and that I'm not afraid. When really I am, and I convince myself enough that I'm not afraid, because even when I took Enneagram test, it never said I'm a 6. It often said I was 8 or a 7. That's usually what it said. Now, so this is about being a 6 in general though. And I am married to a 6. So my wife and I are largely the same person. What we're different about, we're the opposite about. But for the most part, we run a household here where we largely function the same way as 6s, seeking stability and therefore being the stability we wish to see in the world, but ultimately acting out of anxiety and fear of what might go wrong. With that being said, this is very true about my wife and I, and I would say in 6s, this is a stereotype about 6s. It's absolutely true that we very much cling to our gender identification. So I'll give you an example. I am a male, therefore I absolutely make sure that my physical appearance and my actions represent the traditional concept of what a male looks and acts like. And my wife is that way with being a female. It's very important to her that she looks feminine and that she acts feminine. Her interests are very traditionally feminine. Mine are very traditionally masculine. And that's important to a 6 in general, usually. 6s also are known for wanting to preserve their appearance. They're very focused on their appearance because ultimately, if you're a 6, you're thinking, there's so much instability in the world, what can I preserve? How can I keep things stable as much as possible? Okay, so I'll give you an example. For me, as everybody knows, I'm always I'm either at the gym or I'm out running or walking. I'm constantly exercising and weight training and have a very specific regimen every day on what I eat. I do intermittent fasting. I do all these things to make sure that as a 41-year-old, I look good for a 41-year-old. It sounds vain, but at least now I understand the psychology of it. It's one of the few things in this world, in this life, that I actually have control over. Most things I can't control. I don't exist to most of the world. There's nearly 8 billion people and I don't exist to most of them. But in the same way I can't control most of the world and most of my life, I can control my physical appearance. I can exercise and I can eat a certain way and I can take care of my body in a healthy way physically and even psychologically through this Enneagram thing so that I am healthy and I'm preserving my youth in a way. Now granted, I'm not trying to look like I'm 22 years old. But for my age, I want to make sure not only that I am able to look good for a 41-year-old, but I also want to embrace those masculine role and identity. Now, I'll tell you, I'll end with this story. I've done this more than once. I'll go to, say, Starbucks or wherever it is. And this is goofy. I'm just trying to do this to make the person laugh, but I'll go up there and I say, this is me ordering coffee at Starbucks. I am a man who knows what he wants. I want a nitro cold brew with heavy cream. And then I have my wife order hers. Now, obviously it's just to be funny. It's a joke. It's not making a statement about gender or making fun of anybody. But ultimately, that's something that I do. And even in this channel, you can watch plenty of silly videos I've made over the years where I actually pretend to be I'll help you out. On my channel, when you get done watching this one, type in the search for my channel, Naughty Nick. I have this alter ego that I created for many of my videos. There's dozens of videos, Naughty Nick, and I'm pretending like I'm a professional wrestler. It's been years since I took on that persona, but that's another example of it. This concept of embracing your gender as traditionally masculine or feminine based on your gender. This is something I've definitely seen with males and females who are sixes. It's very important to them that they look like their gender and that they preserve their youth. So I'll give you an example too. I would tell you that a 6 in general is more likely to dye their hair. I would tell you that specifically a female is probably more likely to have longer hair that specifically identifies as female. And likewise, males, 6s, I would say in general, tend to keep their hair short because that's more masculine. Now, I haven't dyed my hair this time because I just recently got a haircut, but hey, have I? Yes, if it gets too obvious, yes. I tend not to keep a beard anymore because I got so much white coming through here, and that's just more work to have to dye a beard. So yeah, is that vain to admit that? Maybe. I mean, tell all the people who dye their hair. Ultimately, I guess you could say that they're vain too. But maybe they're Enneagram 6s or 3s who also are very focused on their appearance. So I think it's interesting because just because a lot of the population is focused on preserving their appearance, their youthful appearance, and their gender appearance, does it mean they're vain? No, they have a psychological reason. If you were the kind of person who lived in constant fear and anxiety about how the world's constantly changing and life is moving on without you constantly, of course my 7 wing doesn't help that. It only perpetuates even more. But if that was you, then yeah, you probably would be more focused on those things. So it's easier to see me at the gym, trying really hard, lifting all these heavy weights, making sure that I'm not just going there, and not having results come from it. What's my motivation? Largely to preserve my identity and to maintain my physical identity because it's one of the few things I can control. Your thoughts, beliefs, and opinions belong right here.